Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that half of what you remember from yesterday literally never happened. Not in some simulation-confirmed wake-up Neo way. I mean, your own brain could be making stuff up right now. That memory you're 100% sure happened. Your brain might have edited it. That person you think hates you. Your brain might have invented the evidence. That voice in your head saying, "Bro, I know exactly what's going on." Yes, that guy is not a reliable narrator. Your brain is basically a professional liar with a PhD in making things feel real. And the craziest part, you don't notice it. Because your brain doesn't show you reality. It shows you its best guess of reality. Think about that for a second. You're not walking around experiencing the world exactly as it is. You're walking around inside a prediction generated by approximately 1 kilogram of biological meat. Your brain is constantly looking at tiny pieces of information and going, I have no idea what's happening. Anyway, here's a confident answer. And that is where things get absolutely cooked. Let's start with something you probably trust more than almost anything. Your memories. You remember your childhood. Your first day at school. A random embarrassing moment from 5 years ago. Maybe you remember exactly where you were standing. What someone was wearing. What the room looked like. Maybe you can practically hear the conversation. And because the memory feels incredibly vivid, your brain gives you the ultimate scam. This definitely happened exactly like this. Except, memory doesn't work like a video recording. Your brain doesn't store your life on a little hard drive labeled, "Do not delete." Every time you remember something, you basically rebuild it. You pull out pieces. You fill in gaps. You reconstruct the scene. And then you save that reconstruction back into your memory. Meaning every time you remember something, you can accidentally change it. Bro is literally updating the law every time you open the file. And this is why two people can experience the same event and walk away with completely different memories. Same event, same room, same 5 minutes, different brain-generated director's cut. Your brain isn't asking, what objectively happened? It's asking, what story makes the most sense based on what I currently believe? And that distinction is massive. Because now we get to something even scarier. Your brain doesn't just rewrite the past. It can influence what you see happening right now. Have you ever bought something new and suddenly started seeing it everywhere? You get a specific car. Suddenly, everyone has that car. You learn a new word. Now that word appears in every conversation. You become interested in a particular shoe. Suddenly, the entire population is apparently wearing it. Did the universe spawn 40,000 copies overnight? No. Your brain just started paying attention. There was a filter running the entire time. Your brain is constantly deciding what deserves your attention. Because if you consciously processed every single thing around you, you would blue screen instantly. The feeling of your clothes touching your skin. The pressure of your feet on the floor. Every sound. Every smell. Every object. Every face. Every tiny movement. Every thought. Every heartbeat. Your brain would be like, absolutely not. So instead it filters. It deletes. It predicts. It guesses. It highlights. And then it hands you a simplified version and says, "Here you go, King, this is reality." And you just accept it. No terms and conditions. Now here where your brain gets really sus. Optical illusions. You've probably seen those images where two colors look different but are actually the same. Or where a picture looks like it's moving. Or where your brain suddenly sees a face in a random object. A cloud looks like a dog. A wall looks like a face. A toaster looks vaguely judgmental. Your brain is obsessed with patterns. Because evolution basically said, find patterns or die. If there was movement in the bushes thousands of years ago, assuming it was a predator could save your life. If it was just a bush, congratulations. You were unnecessarily paranoid. But you survived. If it actually was a predator, congratulations. Your paranoid brain just carried the entire squad. So your brain became really good at making predictions. And this system is still running today. The problem is there are no saber-toothed tigers hiding behind your IKEA furniture. But your brain doesn't know that. It still scans. It still predicts. It still tries to explain everything. That's why you can hear your name in a crowded room. That's why you can mistake a coat hanging in the dark for a human being. That's why a notification sound can make you instantly reach for your phone, even when it never happened. Your brain is constantly asking, what do I expect to happen? Then comparing that prediction with what actually happens. And when the information is incomplete, it fills in the blanks, which sounds harmless, until you realize your brain does this with people too. You meet someone. They barely talk. You think, they're probably arrogant. They look at you strangely. They definitely hate me. They don't reply for 3 hours. They're ignoring me. You walk into a room and everyone stops talking. They were talking about me. Your brain loves a story. And once it has one, it starts collecting evidence. Suddenly every tiny thing confirms it. They didn't smile. See. They looked away. See. They replied with okay instead of okay. The law expands. But maybe they were tired. Maybe they were distracted. Maybe their phone died. Maybe they were thinking about something completely unrelated. Your brain doesn't necessarily care about the most accurate explanation. It cares about the explanation that fits the information it already has. This is one reason your thoughts can feel like facts. You think something, and because you experience the thought internally, it feels authoritative. But thoughts are not facts. A thought can literally be, what if everyone secretly hates me? And your brain goes, interesting hypothesis. Then 5 seconds later, we have confirmed the hypothesis. Bros, you were the only witness. You were the prosecutor. You were the defense attorney. You were the jury. And somehow you still lost the case. This gets even crazier with emotions. You ever wake up in a terrible mood for absolutely no reason? Everything is annoying. Your phone is annoying. Your room is annoying. The weather is annoying. Someone breathing near you is somehow a personal attack. Then later you realize, oh, I was just tired. Your brain can interpret the exact same event differently depending on your internal state. When you're exhausted, a small problem feels enormous. When you're happy, the same problem barely registers. The outside world didn't necessarily change. Your brain's interpretation changed. Which means the voice in your head isn't a neutral commentator. It's more like a commentator who keeps changing the scoreboard depending on how he's feeling. And then we reach one of the biggest brain scams of all. You think you're making decisions, but a huge amount of your behavior is driven by processes happening before you consciously explain them. You see food. You suddenly want it. You see your phone. You suddenly check it. You hear a notification. Your hand moves before you've even thought about it. You open an app for 1 second. 47 minutes later, you're watching a guy rank fictional characters by who would survive inside a Costco overnight. What happened? Your brain learned patterns. It learned rewards. It learned habits. And it can trigger behavior automatically. Then your conscious mind often comes along afterward and writes the explanation. I checked my phone because I was bored. Maybe. But maybe you checked it because your brain learned that the little notification icon might deliver a tiny reward. Your brain basically trained itself. And social media understands this extremely well. Scroll. Reward. Scroll. Reward. Scroll. Anger. Reward. Funny video. Reward. Random cat. Reward. Terrible opinion from someone named Sigma Destroyer 9000. Anger reward. Your brain doesn't need to understand the internet. It just needs to recognize. Sometimes this button gives me something interesting. So you press it again. And again. And again. Until you look at the clock and realize your original plan was to go to sleep 3 hours ago. Your brain's sleep. Never heard of her. And here's the most important part. If your brain can distort memories, filter reality, create patterns, predict events, interpret emotions, and influence decisions, then how much of your everyday experience is actually objective? The answer is probably less than you think. But don't freak out. This doesn't mean you're hallucinating reality. It means your brain is doing what it evolved to do. It is trying to keep you alive and help you navigate an absurdly complicated world without melting your CPU. And most of the time, it works. You don't need to consciously calculate how to walk. You don't need to manually identify every object. You don't need to analyze every facial expression. You don't need to think about every breath. Your brain handles it. The problem begins when you forget that your brain is interpreting. You start treating every thought as a fact, every memory as perfect, every emotion as evidence, every prediction as reality. That's when the brain's little lies become dangerous. Because sometimes the most convincing thing your brain tells you is that this is definitely true. So next time you catch yourself thinking, I know what they meant. I remember exactly what happened. This always happens to me. They definitely think I'm weird. I can't do this. Everyone is judging me. Pause. Not because the thought is automatically wrong, but because your brain is capable of being confidently wrong. And that's a terrifyingly useful thing to remember. Because once you realize your brain isn't a camera, you can start questioning the footage. Once you realize your thoughts aren't commands, you can choose which ones to follow. Once you realize your emotions aren't always evidence, you can stop letting one bad morning rewrite your entire life. Your brain is going to keep predicting. Keep filtering. Keep filling gaps. Keep generating stories. That's its job. You don't have to fire it. You just have to stop believing every message it sends. Because your brain may be incredibly powerful, but it is not always telling you the truth. And the wildest part, you probably won't even notice the next lie. Because your brain is the one deciding what you notice. Welcome to the ultimate scam. It's running inside your head. And you've been using it every day.